Hello everybody and welcome to my A to Z Stitch With Me number 72. We are still working on Snowy Reindeer. It's a pattern in the Frosty Forest series by Cottage Needlework. I am doing all of the 9 patterns in a 3x3 square. And this is the third one I'm doing, and it's part 8 of the SAL. SAL stands for Stitch Along, or not SAL, the series. So yeah, we have this to fill in, and then there's one more row. Finish the border. And we're done. So I don't think we will get all of that done today, but we will chug along and see how far we get. So I'm gonna do as always, move you and zoom, so get you closer, and it looks a little bit too that looks better. Yeah, okay. Let's get going. Do some of the fiddly stuff. And if you last time, if you watched that, you know I have already done a pin stitch under this stitch, so this floss can be cut without ruining the stitches that I did. Always important to secure the floss before you cut it, because believe me, I have done that mistake before and it's not gonna happen again. I'm gonna try and adjust the frame a little bit, so because I'm constantly bumping it when I'm getting my right hand underneath. So I stitch two-handed, so I have my dominant hand underneath, and I have my non-dominant hand on top. And my dominant hand is the right one. And it always feels so nice to put in a few stitches on this one. It really is a fun one to stitch. actually think I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing the stitches with this floss. I hope that it will be enough to do this row right here. And if you see, I hold on the eye of the needle just barely where the floss is, because that way, especially when working with the shorter lengths, you don't accidentally pull off the floss. That's good when playing floss chicken. And if you don't know what floss chicken is, it's basically where you try to get the most out of those few stitches on the needle without. Some people play it so they don't lose it off, and some people just play that they actually can do the stitches and secure it, even though it means they have to put the needle down, thread the floss on the needle, pull it through, do the same on the other side, the back side of the fabric, and so on until they can secure the floss. So that's the last one is usually how I play it when I do A to Z stitch with me's. I hate to turn the work around. So then floss chicken is basically getting all of the stitches without having to turn around my work. And I won. It's safe and secure. I did the stitches I wanted to do. So 1-0 to me. That works out perfectly. But the floss that I already had parked right here. Because these stitches I was always supposed to do with this floss. Then when I have finished these stitches, I can jump over and park where it was supposed to have continued with the floss that I just finished over here. Always nice when things work out the way you want them to. And I stitch with 2 different needles on this project. Mainly I use the Easy Guide needle that has a ballpoint tip, and that is makes it so you don't pierce the other stitches. And this one is just a regular needle. You're not going to focus for me? Really? You did the other one. There. It's just a normal one, as you can see. And that is because when you do the pin stitch, you want to pierce the floss. And the ballpoint tip is to not pierce the floss when you do the stitches. So I have this one that I use when I just have a few stitches and I know I'm gonna do the pin stitch, or if I start a floss with the pin stitch. So since there was only like 3 stitches, I just did this needle the whole time. If I do a bigger section, I will use the ballpoint needle, and then I will switch right before I do the pin stitch. Of course, I put away this floss when I'm supposed to use it again over here. Sorry for the bumping. It's just my tripod isn't playing nice with me. So I kind of have to have the frame really close to the chair the tripod is hanging from. So every time I take my hand underneath to stitch, I bump the frame in the chair and it makes a noise, and it makes the frame shake a lot more than what it usually do because it has that extra bump. So, but we'll do what we have. I did order a new tripod. The problem was it got sent back by the postal service before I could pick it up because they gave me the wrong information. And they're basically like, well, sorry, you didn't pick it up in time, so they basically are blaming me when it was totally their fault. And the ones that do take the blame, they're like, well, there's nothing we can do about it. It's not like they can order it to be sent back to me. So I basically need to reorder that. Oh, what fun. If you remember, I think it was my last episode, I said that all of those white parked threads are gonna be used in the Snowy Hill, so there's no problem having a bunch of them. And as you can see, I am correct. There's not many of them left parked now when this length is done, because when this row is done, this one is time to be secured and cut because it's getting short. And the ones hanging down here isn't very long either, so I'm gonna even have to start a new length of white floss for this hill. I don't know what it is, but this needle eye isn't very good. It's acting up a lot of the time. And I have tried to switch what side of the needle eye I use, but it seems to be just as bad on both sides. Oh well. I'm just trying to move the frame a little bit to the side because I am starting to have difficulty see what's going on over here because the camera is in the way, so I had to move it so I could actually see what I'm stitching over here. You know, that's always good to see what you're actually stitching, because stitching blind can't be easy. There's one person that did floss tooth for a while. I don't know if you remember Aaron, the Maryland's boy, I think he called himself. He isn't blind, but he doesn't have very good vision, and he has other handicaps, and I'm so impressed by what he can do on the stitching, and his stitches looks really nice. So yeah, I'm just amazed by him and what he can do. I know that when he did floss tube, he got a lot of trouble. People apparently aren't that nice to him, and that's a shame, because he's a really kind and funny guy, and I just loved to watch him. So I don't think he watched me, but if he do, he should know that I have always appreciated him very much. He is such a big inspiration when it comes to stitching. Like, if I ever go blind, like, I'm still gonna try and stitch, even though I'm blind. Kind of use the needle as a guide to feel where the fabric thread is and go from there. It's most likely what I would do. And I would most likely have somebody tell me like how many stitches I need to do, and maybe I could find a program or something. Or just stitch by memory of what you kind of already know, and be creative about how you're making it look. I don't think it's an I did one stitch too much of the white one, but I'm not gonna fix that. I'm just gonna stitch over that one stitch. Yep. That's what I'm gonna do. And you can see how I do that. In just a sec. I was so concentrated about getting the stitches done with that length I knew I needed to secure off. I forgot that I actually needed to make this row one stitch shorter than what it's supposed to. So here you get to see one of the rare things I do. I don't do this very often, but what I do when I stitch over is I railroad both of my legs. And railroading is when you have 2 or more strands, and you take the needle in the middle of those strands before you go down the hole. That makes it so they lay on top of each other, beside each other, nicely on top. And you can see now you cannot see that there's a white stitch under there, and you basically can't see that there's actually 2 stitches right there. So it's one of the way I'm cheating. I don't do it very often, but I do it like sometimes once in a while. And the thing is, when I also knew that when I do the pin stitch underneath this stitch, it's gonna make this stitch a little bit taller. So basically what I'm doing is making these 2 stitches be even more like each other. More synchronized, both of them. I didn't want the brown one. And sometimes the pin stitching can kind of pull the stitch you have done a little bit down. So let's just take your needle underneath then. Give it a little tug. And it looks nice. Yep. That's one way you can do it. If you have just a single mistake, would not recommend doing it if you have done like a dark color and then you're gonna have white on top, because that's probably going to show through too much. And when you do the pin stitch, you can do a lot longer ends. I'm just used to doing the shorter ends, and it saves me some floss. And since I don't have an issue doing it like that, I just roll with it, basically. Doing those shorter ends. Sometimes they are so short that I don't need to cut them off, because they will pull through to the back. And there will just be a little teeny tiny tail on the back. Like, you won't even see the difference from that one or the ones being cut off when I end the pin stitch on the front. When I end the length of floss on the front of the fabric, because you get like a teeny tiny tail. Don't like that. Too elongated. So you have a pin stitch again, and then we can do these stitches, and they're all looking so pretty. Pretty stitches. Do you ever get songs on your head while you're stitching? I do. And right now, I just got one of the songs from one of the Smurf hits in my head. And it's actually a little bit annoying. Because it's not one of those I actually like very much. I usually like those songs. Or I liked those songs. I don't really listen to them much anymore. But apparently some of them has decided they are gonna take a hold in my brain and just stay there forever. This is the last stitch of this brown and this part of the series. It's gonna be used more because it's one of the main colors used. It's like the same two colors used for all of the pine cones in every pattern, and you find them in every pattern. So that green you see, this brown and the white, is used in all 9 patterns. And then there is some variety in what other colors are being used. So this one you will see again, just not before we have finished the Snowy Reindeers. So that floss I can put back on the bobbin. So what I do, I fold that length in half, and I take it the loop through, and I take the strands through the loop, and it's secure on there. And then I just, if it's longer, I will keep wrapping it around. If not, I just tuck it down here and it stays on the bobbin. Nice and secure until the next time I need that color. And then I can use that little cutoff. Sometimes they're actually perfect to use. For whatever I need to use them for. Yeah, we have surpassed half an hour, and I have some stuff I need to get done in a little while. So we'll see how long I keep going before I take a break. So yeah, next time there will be a lot of white stitching, because I'm also going to finish up the last 2 stitches in this green, which you will see again because it's one of those that it's used in all of the projects. And yeah, so then there's just white left to do basically. So, but I'm pretty sure next time we will get a finish, and that is exciting. What I sometimes do when I cut that length off, I can see there's like a little bit of green showing, so I will just take the needle with the floss still on and just pull it under, because the floss is cut off, and it makes it so if there was a little bit of green cut off left, it will be pulled to the back side and will not show on the front. It would have been eventually pulled under by the white stitches I'm gonna do underneath, but yeah, sometimes when I have the needle there with the floss on, why not use it and make it look pretty right away instead of having to wait. And I already know that this second length right here isn't going to be long enough to go all the way over and back again. So there's then usually two things I can do. I can either do one stitch at a time, and however far I get, I can end it, and I will take this floss, jump to wherever I got to, and continue stitching, or I can stitch one leg, one direction, and hope it ends before it goes back. I don't think this will. So this one I'm gonna park just further down because this is longer, but I want to use that shorter end first. And yeah, I'm gonna do one stitch at a time. See how far I get. There's, as you can see, even though it's a pretty short length, like I'm always surprised of how many stitches you can get out of it, because there's always a few more stitches than what I think there is. So basically, when I see how short of a length I have, I can usually see how much I can get done just because I know I need to add a few more stitches to what I think is what I think, how many stitches I think there's left in that length. I'm gonna switch over to, now you can see I'm switching over after I've done a good amount of stitches. One, this needle is a little bit shorter than the ballpoint tip. The ballpoint tip is a little bit longer. So if I switch the needles, I suddenly can get like 2 more stitches out of it. And it's nice switching when the floss isn't too short, when I know the eye of the needle sometimes acts up on me, like it won't thread the floss with the method I usually use. So yeah, then it's nice to just switch to a couple more stitches and then secure. All right, and then what I will do, I usually secure it a little bit further down, just because if this would go even further ahead, you kind of secure this length of floss underneath those stitches. And if not, I do this, come up here, and then next time I can use this stitching those. I do that half pin stitch I did over here, jump over here and do these stitches, most likely one at a time, because I have a last length parked here to do that last row, so it might be good to use that last one to finish the row. So yeah, that's how far we got today. And I'm pretty sure next time we just have this little bit to finish on this row, and we have this little bit to finish on this row, then we have all of this row to go from here to here, and then the border, and we're done. And it's all in white stitching. So, but it looks amazing. I'm really happy with how this one is turning out. I especially love the trees, and it's a variegated floss that has been used. And I like how it's looking. And of course, these reindeers are adorable, especially the one looking straight at you. So yeah, thank you all for joining me this Friday. Well, I hope you got some good stitchy time in. And if you like, please leave a comment and a thumbs up so that I know that this is a series you are appreciating, and I will continue to do this series. And take care, happy stitching, and stay safe. Goodbye, everyone.